Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Edwin Hill, and I'm an associate professor, joint appointed in the Department of French and Italian and the Department of American Studies and Ethnicity. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to Black Lives Matter Beyond Borders, a three-part lecture series on social justice, anti-Black racism, police brutality, mass incarceration, and the devaluation of Black bodies and lives around the world. This lecture series is actually part of an undergraduate course I'm teaching this semester at USC entitled Black Europe, where we're engaging with these issues and learning about how law and order rhetoric, anti-terrorism security discourse, dynamics of de facto segregation, or what's often referred to in French as spatial relegation, and the policing of public space along with dynamics of post-colonialism and many other forces. We're thinking about how they intersectionally impact the everyday experiences of African-descended people and communities, especially in France and in Italy. To understand the global protests that took place this last summer, some have spoken of a so-called George Floyd effect. Yet I fear this analytic lens, with its U.S. ethnocentric purview, might blind us to the treacherously uneven terrains of anti-Black racism that African people and people of African descent navigate in different places around the world. Further, it fails to consider the critical work Black militant activists have been undertaking in the past decades and how their freedom dreams and schemes have evolved over the generations. This is why I'm so thrilled to introduce the first guest in our lecture series and a really important voice on Afrofeminism in France today, Ms. Fania Noël. Fania Noël is a Haitian-born French Afrofeminist activist, thinker, and writer with years' experience at the grassroots organization level against what Moya Bailey has coined as misogynoir, the anti-Black racist misogyny that Black women experience. Fania Noël is part of the MWASI Afrofeminist Collective, which published Afrofem, a collection of essays and beautiful photographs, I might add, of Afrofeminist thought in France. Ms. Noël also created the journal AssiégéEs, Citadelle de Résistance, or Besieged, Fortress of Resistance, for people of Europe's former colonies, and a journal conceived of as part of a revolutionary political project. She hosts the podcast Noir Atlantic, that's NWAR on your podcast dial, in case you want to look it up. Noir Atlantic is a collection of conversations in French and Creole with Black activists, scholars, and artists from across the diaspora. She's author of this beautiful new volume, Afro-Communautaire, Appartenir à nous-mêmes, which I will translate here directly as Afro-Communitary, belonging to ourselves. In a time when French politicians are decrying the ensauvagement of the nation, its savage becoming, and denouncing Islamic separatism or communitarianism while deploying the freedom of anti-Muslim and misogynoirist expression and enforcing what some have called inclusion by exclusion, Fania Noël's interventions are as trenchant as they are against the mainstream grain. That's why I'm very excited to welcome Fania Noël to USC. Fania, thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure. Uh, so it's a pleasure to be here between two sets of reading for my classes tomorrow as a PhD student in sociology at the New School. So I hope you're doing well with all the reading too, and all the essay, etc., and the research for the one who are in a research and the grant application. So the floor is mine, I guess.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So sorry, maybe you will hear some echo voice back then. It's my husband. He's at NYU and he have a class. This online stuff is really messy, and and it's sometimes it get exciting by the class. So first of all, so I'm Fania. How I become an activist? I think it's that my lecture today, my topic today, it's it's about the Assata Shakur, what Assata Shakur taught me, the place of Black women are in the struggle. So we would talk about that, about how I become an activist, what I do as an activist, how it's not something random. It's not random. It's kind of determinism, as Durkheim will say, and it's kind of a specific determinism. I am a strong believer of radical determinism. We will talk about that later. So I born in Haiti in 1987. I have a really typical Caribbean story. I born in Haiti. My father immigrated to France. He back then in Haiti, and after he took me, and we went to France in 1990. Yeah, so I was just 2.5, so I don't have a lot of memory when I went in Haiti. And after have older siblings, so I am the first. It's really common in immigrant family, first immigrant family. You have the older sibling who are generally born in the country, and after the older, they born in the migration country. So I have 5 brother and sister. I have 5 siblings. I am the oldest. It means a lot of stuff in when you're a Black woman, and in this grow up in a low-income community in what we call banlieue, who is really different of suburb in the United States. In case of in matter of what the racial space and the specialization of the race. So suburbs here is mostly white, privilege with a little beautiful family, etc. In France, it's really the peripheric is really the peripheric, and the margin is really in a spatial way, in a social way, in a racial way, is really that. So I grew up in a 95, in a 95, in 95. Great place for a great rapper like Youssoufa, like some people, not all of them, some great rapper over there, not the best one like Mafia Country, but great rapper. So I grew up in 95. I'm a really banlieusard, as Keritiem would say. I grew up in a big family, low income, in a small, how they call that here, public housing. That's the big project, big architectural, prison-ish architecture project in a suburb. Really thought about punish people to live in under this closed apartment. And so my first organizing moment was during the CPE, called Contrat Première Embauche, first employment contract, was a law project by the Chirac government. I think it was Raffarin who fought for this project, if I remember. Yes, and I was in high school, if I remember, or in college, not in the American way, before high school, in junior school. And I do strike, I block the school, doing march, and take some gas, was sleeping on the floor, all of stuff like that. So we won at the end. We won. We won. It was the area where we won. It was not the full militarization of the police, so it was not really confrontational like here. So we won. And after the second, a really important moment, I think it's not the second, I think it's the first important racial organization moment. It was in 2005, what we call the riot of the suburbs, what we call after the death of Traoré and Zied Beana that died after a run with the police in the electricity power plant. They both killed teenagers, so have a lot of riot in the suburb. In my suburb too, we have curfew, more police, a lot of national TV explanation as we are really not fit for the country. We have a cultural issue, so we were the cultural issue at the stage, and so I was not really full aware of what it means, the racial question, as I was 2 and 3 years after. I think the fact that I grew up in the Haitian family, I was aware that I was Black. I am politically Black. It was my father say, we are politically Black. We are Black. We are Black, not as Black skin. We are Black as a nation. We are Black as a historical nation. We are Black as the first Black Republic. We are all the way that only thing I know, I was Black, not Black just the way I live. It's has a political condition, even though at 17 I couldn't articulate that way, but it was what it is, and it really protect me in the sense that I was really aware of racial discrimination, racial biais. My father was really aware of that too, even though he was working in a Juanito job. He was really aware about the school discrimination, about the racist discrimination. He was not into the fantasy of equality. So I think grew up with a father really aware of racial inequality in a France where all the narrative is no, everyone is equal. It really protect me because it's not in my head. It's a power relationship. It's as he said, it's because we won some battle, really great, the Haitian Revolution, but we lose some battle. They call the battle of the advanced country and the capitalism. So it's because we poor. So it repeats that if we were not a poor country, they will not treat us like that. So we have an explanation. And I think where you're young, have an explanation about some process, even though the explanation is not that complex, it's not exactly on point. It's better that, oh no, if you work hard, everything will be okay. Because this is just the recipe for I've seen a lot of people coming in organizing with a lot of lie, illusion, and all the year they're doing so it's not a good recipe. It was better. It's for that I talk about the radical determinism, is because I need to be born in Haiti. I need to grow up in this suburb. I need to be the oldest Black sister, because it means something being the oldest Black sister in terms of responsibility, in terms of organizing your own sibling, in terms of both parents working 12-hour shifts. So you are alone. You have to self-organize the food, the discipline, etc. I have to have this kind of father, have to be Haitian, have to know stuff about Haitian Revolution, even though it was not in curriculum in school. So you say, oh, it exists, but it's not in curriculum in school, but we're talking about the freedom. But 4 years after the French Revolution, the same people went to Haiti to say, no, stay slave. So it put in my head, this story have some things that not fit, have some really missing points. So it's put me in position to be really in an interrogation mood, really suspicious, and the suspicion is good because it was the first seed to become a critical thinker. being suspicious when you're a teenager, from what you learn in school, from the disciplinary, from the curriculum, is the first is to be a critical thinker after, in terms of activism, of graduate, as a scholar. It's really an important piece, being suspicious when you're a minority, a sexual minority, gender minority, as a woman, as a Black woman, you have to be suspicious, because if we are in a racial, patriarchal world and capitalist, and you're a Black woman, grow up in a poor community, you have to be suspicious about the state institution. That school is a part of the state institution and is part of the continuum of the state. So after in 2005, a lot of organizations really center around the racial question, not the post-colonial, not the migration, really racial, in terms of we're French, we're here, and we're not going anywhere. So what we're going to do? So we have the Brigade Anti-Negrophobie that create in this time ban, the anti-Blackness Brigade, the MIR, the Indigene of the Republic movement, after we become the PIR, the Indigent Republic Party. It was also in the same time around the first law against hijab in France. So you have a mom, all equal mom, Maman Tout Égal, who was a regroupment of mom who wear hijab, to the right to going to the all the school activity. You had anti-Islamophobic movement that born in this time. Les Indivisibles was led by Rokhaya Diallo. She's a journalist, a Black French journalist. So you had a lot of organizations that born in 2005. And after that, we have the racial question really in the media, in the public, in the mainstream, what Bourdieu call the public opinion, even though it doesn't exist, of the public debate in the public space. So we had all that, so all the question, all the text, and internet would really help us, because without internet, we will be not there. Because without internet, we will be in the same point that in the 80s, where you have a lot of immigration organization by immigrants from slumdog, because they slumdog until 80-60 in Paris area, with a lot of Algerian was living. Or you have the first Black woman organization, Coordination des Femmes Noires, Black Women Coordination, in 1987 in Paris, mostly Black women students. What is missed is the spread, it's the mainstream. And I think because they can, I had an interview with one of the founder of this organization in the 80s. They say, yeah, immigrants were organized, people from Africa, from the Caribbean, they are organized, but we were not able to spread what we said, because it was not internet, etc. We organize in our neighborhood, we have really, really strong organizing, and the big victory has the hand of the double punishment, is like what Clinton done in the US, but it was in the 80s, that when you do a crime somewhere in France, you going to prison. After the prison, you be deported. So they end that with the organization. They get mass documentation for undocumented, better housing. They do really great stuff, really policy stuff. But they have an archive issue, because the publishing house, the media, etc., was all in the same hand. And what it changed with the internet, so we didn't have to, go to Seuil Edition or POL or whatever, or Le Monde or L'Humanité to say, oh, tell her story, please tell her story. We jump on Twitter, blog, Facebook, write paper, and after it's come even in antagonism. So we wrote paper, and people that in antagonism with Black feminism or Black organization or anti-racist organization will answer in major newspaper. So you have the publication director of Libération or Le Monde or Le Point, who will write an editorial, say these people are dangerous. What they were that, and they were that, etc. Say, okay, it was a lot of free promo because we were like a sect, like a really a sect, really the Christian are under Moses, Christian in Moses area. We are like a sect with our little blog, the when Tumblr was something was hype. Back then, when Tumblr was hype, with when the Twitter just have not a early user on Twitter, we are here with a little stuff, and you went on the national newspaper, say that we are a danger for the big republic, the fifth, the fourth at the time of fifth power in the world. Come on. So it was really something that was touchy. The French, the difference between the Black community in France and the Black community in the US is that the Black community in the US is organized around a core community, who is the African American community. The African American community are not all the Black in the US, but are a core that makes that when Haitian come, Trinidadian, Barbados, Senegalese, Ghanaian, they have a model of organizing, of church organizing, of cultural organizing, of political domain organizing, etc. They have a kind of model. They say that have another Black community that organize like that, have an history of organizing and a history together. 400 years, it's something of together, and with the different kind, radical, Black liberal, conservative, Black conservative, etc., intellectual, etc. So they have some they get around, even though the organization of Haitian American, of Senegalese American, of Trinidad Caribbean American are not the same as the African American, but they're more likely. The difference in France is that we are a Black community from different Black country. They all have a common history with the French colonial empire, but none a common spatial and temporal history. So Cameroon get colonized by France, Senegal too, Haiti too, the Guadeloupe, Martinique is, in my opinion, still a colony, even it's called a department, but it's just wool has a colony, Senegal too, Togo, etc. We all have a policy historical moment and of colonial of slavery in the case of Haiti with France, but we never get it together in the same configuration, have a really different type of colonialization and in a temporal. For example, Haiti is free from more than 200 years. So it's really different from the Senegal that now you have in place people in government that were people, those people early in the day was working for the colonial administration. That's really a different state of mind, of organization, of relationship with friends, etc. So you have all this community, all the people that just learn to be together. And I don't talk about our parents because they all immigrant. They are in a country, but really their mind is not in this country. They hear, they work, they say that, yeah, it's not mine. They do some home at home, etc. But I think me and maybe the half generation older than me, so the people who had maybe people like Mabula Somoro, who she's a scholar. She's I think civilization. She studied in the US and now she's back in France. Yeah, the people like Mabula Somoro, Rokaya Diallo, born in the before 82, but after 70, are the first really Black generation that grew up with other Black that not from the same country. So me, I grew up with, and I'm a Haitian, have not a lot of many Haitian in France. So most of my friends are Senegalese, Congolese, mostly Senegalese, Congolese, Cameroonese, from Ivory Coast. It's mostly of my friends. They are like that. So we create a culture of an Afro culture, what we call it Afro, not Black, Afro culture of that, and you can see that in the song, in the rap, in the Aya Nakamura song, in the Afro beats, or even in the slang, where you have a lot of words from the Caribbean. For example, bendo is from the Creole. You have lago is from the slang from Ivory Coast. You have a lot of slang from different Bai is from Creole too, or from different language of all Africa, but how we're talking about the Black community of Sub-Saharan Africa and the Caribbean, and a lot of mix about the music, the taste, etc. So this is a major difference, and one of the other difference is that in the US, it's okay to organize among Black people. So it's okay. It's really the community. You have a Black organization of, I don't know, of a hairdresser, Black organization of people in a driving. You even have a Black organization, a Black woman studio organization. I am part of that. This is really okay. It's not like a polemic. It's not a taboo. It's totally fine. In France, is very, very not. It's not okay at all. Not okay. It's not okay. It's called the anti-republic. It's not okay at all. It's okay to be organized among nationality. So you can have a Comorian organization, Haitian organization. It's cultural. It's not politic. It's okay. But you can't politicize Blackness among Black people. This is not okay. It's not okay for the state. It's not okay for other Black people, because when you grow up with a lot of messages say you have to be a Republican, it's like, no, it's really not okay of that. So this is a really major difference in terms of organizing. In France, the Black organization had been doing a lot of work to create space that it's okay to organize politically around Blackness among Black people. Not around the fact we are Senegalese, or we are Comorian, or we are Ghanaian, etc. No. Around being Black, around being a Black organization defending Black people. Because I had a lot of other organizations defending Haitian, etc., migration, and around Blackness not has a link with documented, but on the racial question of Blackness. So we had to do a lot of work just to be okay with that. So it's a major difference of in comparison to United States, or it's just not a question, even for the people conservative or even opponent, it's not a question. Say, yeah, have a Black organization. Okay, it's a Black organization. So yeah, so we had to do a lot of that. It's a major difference in type of organizing, but we come here now. We are in the good moment. We have more and more Black organization about all the stuff, Black feminist organization, Black queer organization, general Black organization. We just create a new organization called Coordination Action Autonome Noire, that I co-found with 4 of my active friends, but they also activists from different kind of organization, and now we mostly 100 activists. So Black feminist organization, Black organization general, Black queer organization, Black cultural organization, Black artist organization. You have more and more, and it's more okay because we just take the heat. At first, I take a lot of heat in the media before, because with my friend Sia Masbag, we are the first organizing a a training, a Decolonial Summer Camp in 2016. It was just for people of color to train against anti-racism and have a measure it. The stuff go until the Supreme Court. We had one session in the parliament about this 3-day training. So we went on court for that. We have a major media backlash, had to left France because it was not possible to find work after that. So, but we won. We do the Decolonial Summer Camp in 2016 and in 2017. And the same stuff happened again in 2017 for the first Black Feminist Festival, where the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo, was, I don't know, she just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I would just ban this Black Feminist Festival because we had some workshop just for Black women. So we won again because we have good lawyer, good Black woman lawyer, really dedicate. So I think Anne Hidalgo don't know that, can win an argument against Black women. It's like, we just grew up to win argument. It's like, it's a matter of fact. We just grew up to one argument. It's like the basis, the 101 Black woman, one argument. Even when we wrong, we won argument. So, so yeah, this is the answer of the state. It's very different. It's really on the ideological war in France is more present than in the United States, but I think it's really common in the philosophy and the modernity when you lead I think I hope most graduates, most students here have read Durkheim, The Democracy in America, but also all the Adam Smith comparison between France and the United States, the pragmatism of the United States and the France really living in the head and his ideological. So the ideology is really important. We will see that the major political debate about separatism, for example, about Islamophobic, about the ensauvagement that they just told to Aimé Césaire, is really ideological debate about a republic philosophy that we not fit in. It's not, it's not about paper. It's not about, oh, are you legal, illegal? It's about, even though you have the paper, you're paying the tax, it's not about that. It's not about the same discourse that the conservative had here about they're not paying the tax, or they against, they had a philosophic fantasy that we not fit in. Some people don't fit in for some reason. So it's really different, and I think France is really a country where the state, the elite, the intellectual elite can go really, really far for ideology, really, really far, and even be against the own interest, the own capitalist interest. For example, you have, when people say, oh, I'm going to France, why are they going to France? Where in the imaginary people from the US, from the UK going to France? It's like in the Netflix TV show, Emily in Paris. They're going to France to eat croissants, to the art de vivre, to smell good perfume, and to take some bicyclette in the Marais, etc. They're going to France for the museum to see some past relic, etc. So it's what the imaginary of France is. It's about the art de vivre. It's about the bakery, the patisserie, the good food, the etc. No one ever say, oh, I'm going to France to do really some innovative stuff about science, about, I don't know, about my career, etc. So it's not a country for the future. It's not a country, when you think about the future, I'm really a fan of science fiction. I wrote a lot of science fiction. When you think about the future, you think about Japan, China, Kenya, South Africa, Brazil, Los Angeles, New York, even the Caribbean, even Puerto Rico. But you not think about France, Italy, or maybe Germany a little, but not that sure. France, Italy, Spain. You think about London, not all the UK, but you think about London. So this is a postal card. And all we see is different, that the United States is really a racist country, really a racist country, really a capitalist country, inequality country. But you have a lot of people, and a lot of Black French people like me, but like a lot of my friends who are scholars in the academia, just left France and say, oh yeah, I'm doing my PhD at the New School. I'm PhD candidate at the New School, or at Johns Hopkins University, of that Yale or at UCLA. Why? I say, yeah, because it's innovative. So we had a major issue that it's better when you're Black and you want to study the racial question in France, in colony, to went in the United States, who is another racist country, but differently, than stay in France. But in the other hand, you do not have a migration, an intellectual migration of Black people, of Black American people from the US to the France, because France is really about, oh, remember when Baldwin was here, and all those Black Americans to flew again to just because America was so racist. Yeah, they were here for a short amount of time, but not producing idea. They was not come here to go in the institution. They was just living the same stuff that Emily in Paris in Netflix, the art de vivre, and the fact that being exotic Black. In the same way, I'm living in New York, I'm living in Brooklyn. When I do not speak with my mask, I'm walking, I'm just a random Black. When I speak, and with my strong accent that I try to change, I'm an exotic Black. So people are, they sometimes they are really crisp and tense. And when I speak, they say, oh, you're French. So you're an exotic Black. You're not that kind of Black asking for justice. But when I speak, for example, in Creole, I'm not an exotic Black. I am an immigrant Black. So it's really the kind of difference. So it's really different. When I speak in English with my French accent, I'm an exotic Black. What we said in a Black Twitter in France. No, it's not us who say that. It's the Black British Twitter who called the Black French Twitter the croissant ass nigger. So we are croissant ass. So when I speak in English, I am the croissant Black. But when I speak in Creole in the phone and I'm walking, that has Creole is really common in New York, and people recognize Haitian, that we all really alone. I'm kind of, oh, she's a kind of immigrant, of daughter of immigrant, whatever. She's just here and she wants more right, etc. When I do not speak, I just am another Black person in New York, and with all that carry, I can be an African American. So it's all that the difference between the border, when you cross the border, and the different type of organizing of what we are between. When I am Black in France, I'm not the same that I am here, and the different answer from the state, and the solidarity is what I wrote on my last piece on Black Youth Project, is that we built solidarity. For example, MWASI, we built a solidarity with the Black Movement for Black Life. It's been more than 3 years and a half. We do project with Black feminist organization in Brazil, in Haiti, in Kenya, Ghana, Somalia, Sudan. We build the solidarity across Europe with Swedish, Germany, UK, around Blackness. But this solidarity building is not to copy paste what is happening in United States, in France or in Brazil, but to understand how white supremacy and capitalism work the same, in some same way, but how they're very different, and how they are really have a power of adaptation of the cultural basis. So in the US, is the discourse for Black capitalism is really more strong than in France, where have more socialist tradition, but whatever. Neoliberalism now has everywhere, but socialist tradition and strike of worker organization, etc. In France, for example, we have really strong Republic fantasy, and it's not even not a mythology. For me, it's a mythology. It's like a mythology, a fantasy that create a neurotic state. Because at the same time, you're the country of the light, the country of the freedom, of the human right, but you also the country of the black code, du code noir, so that regulate slavery. You also the country have the major colony in the world. You also the country that after the abolition of slavery, just put the slavery back. You also the country has again still colony at this point. You're also the country of 90% of people victim of police brutality are Black or Arab men. You're also the country of deportation of Jew people in the camp, of collaboration. So it's like all the history of France is just speaking about you don't like freedom. Even the revolution was a bourgeois revolution, not really a freedom revolution. It was a bourgeois revolution. And after it was for that, we have a lot of counter revolution. And the best moment of French history for me is La Commune. And it was a really repression, really ugly repression. Is that the moment that historically invent something that freedom, that equality was the most repressed movement ever in Paris, La Commune. So it's kind of some nevrose because they have to say, you can say everything is equal, we all universalist, we don't see color, we remove the word race in the constitution, we don't see white, black, etc. And all this evidence. You have to say, okay, have two solutions. Have discrimination, race exists, we have racial inequality and discrimination. That's a fact that have a historical, sociological continuum that makes that. And we want a universal country, so we have to work toward that. Or the other is doing like, I think the Germany or other countries say, we are not a universal, we are a white Christian country, and to do so, it's like that. So we are a white Christian country, and carry white Christian value, whatever it mean, even though we are all away for the secularism, but in the same time we all away saying people from Muslim people can fit because we are our root are Christianity, but we all away secularism. So have too many antagonism, too many narrative and too many fantasy and narrative of republic, of value, of counter value merged together in the mainstream narrative of France. So they have, not me, they have to deal with that. And I think it's what is happened now when the left found out that they're really conservative and xenophobic and they're really close to the right on the value. So we are just in a moment where people, how we say, le roi est nu. So everyone just figure out they don't really want multiculturalism like that. They want a white country. But now we are a lot of us, so we have to figure out, and I think we are in the moment of le roi est nu en France, and as the king is naked, some truths have to be told. So, but everyone is seeing that the king is naked, and I think it's really the moment that we're living, but it's not a funny moment, not a joyful, especially for people of minority, but Muslim people at this time, but for Black people and Rome and other minority. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful to hear about your path. And I want to open the floor for questions. There's a Q&A chat where you can put in some questions. I know we have some students who already have prepared questions that I want to call on specifically, but I wanted to open the Q&A by asking if you could talk a little bit about the book you just published and some of the ideas that you put forth in the book.
Yes, every time you say book, publish, I have some PTSD because my publisher is waiting for my new book and I'm really late. So I just living in what we call in Caribbean a marronage of writing. So my book is like an utopian proposal, a Black liberation proposal about how we can organize against neoliberal racial capitalism, but in my position of Black feminist, how we can have radical utopia and how we can talk for the present, but from a place for the future. And I really, it is really small because I don't have a lot of answer, but I try to just ask some question about. We did some stuff. We managed to get over some issue. We do some great organizing. For example, Black feminists really managed to change the balance of power, that organize, that make. So we still have the issue with some organization, mostly the main organization, white dominant organization, but we don't have the same issue that before, because as we build balance of power, they can discard us. They're still not really fan of us, but now they have to just sit in silence in the same room and we do negotiation. And this is it's become possible because we do the work. We done the work. We organize people. We can put people in the street. We organize solidarity. We do ideology production, terrorizing, training. Each one teach one. We do stuff. So now, even they don't like her, they will prefer that we don't exist. They can do without us. And I build a balance of power, change the balance of power, build power is what it takes when you are in an environment really not in your advantage. As a Black feminist, really not in advantage from white organization, from other feminist organization, from Black organization. Also, you have really a lot of intimate enemy, a lot of intimate enemies.
Just to throw out a term I know that people will be thinking about and asking about, how do you define or think about Afrofeminism?
So Afrofeminism is have the same political subject that Black feminism, the Black woman. The main difference is like Afrofeminism is really focused in the country where most of the political subject come from Caribbean and Africa Sub-Saharan and Caribbean in a process of migration, not as as majority descent of slavery. So have different kind of history in Black feminism in the US. Feminism by Black women in the Caribbean, for example, in Brazil, you have a lot of lineage linked to slavery in the spatial area where we're doing activism. In difference in France is as a slavery where, but not in the hexagon, not in the metropole. So you have really a detached spatial different from Guadeloupe, Martinique, La Guyane, La Réunion, etc. And the main French metropole, where all the power, the political power, are centralized, where we don't have a lot of slavery interaction, or people, mostly of the white people in France, the metropole France, hexagonal France, were not encountered with Black people. not like, in intimate relationship. And the most intimate relationship they had is become after the independence, where all those people came in Hexagon, and the people who had a lot of contact with Black people were slave owner in the Caribbean, or colonial administrator of colonial French people in a colony back then. So it's mostly the difference between Black feminism and Afrofeminism, but the political subject is the same. It's a political movement that the aim is Black liberation for Black women, but also anti-capitalist in the context where we are in a double minority, gender and racial minority.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Great. Let's go to some questions. I know some students have questions to ask. Can we start maybe with Ramata? Ramata, are you there? Let's see. Turn on your camera if you can, if you'd like. Please introduce yourself if you'd like, and you can say your affiliation also.
Yes, I'm here. I could ask my question, but I wanted to say, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, but a little far away.
Can you hear me?
Great, like a podcast voice. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much for all of your insight and information. I just had this one question. After having read some of your work in the articles and just interviews that you've done, I was really interested in knowing on basically when do you feel the work of, I guess, reaching Black liberation, when do we know that that's we've reached that goal? Because I've understand that through the Afro-feminist movement, it's more targeted, and I feel like it's more structurally implemented as opposed to other really large movements. So I'm just interested to know when do we know that, okay, the work that we've done or the work that you and other thinkers are doing to reach this point, when do we know that we've reached a good enough goal to say that we've gotten somewhere?
I think when we start asking other questions. And I think that when I said at the conclusion of my book, is that utopia, when we reach the landscape, the goal, we had other questions, we have other possibility, other question, other issue to address. So I think we will know when we had to ask other questions, as how we deal with an efficient practice of restorative justice. When we had to ask the question how we make the restorative justice system more efficient, that we done with prison, that we know that we done with prison and police, etc. So I think we have to think about not a breakdown in history, like a multilinear history. Is it would not be, Monday it's the white supremacists and Tuesday would be the Black liberation, but it will be a process when we just abolish stuff. And revolution is not just a moment. You have the moment, but you have all the process that is necessary to not have a counter-revolution. And we've seen a lot of counter-revolution in history, too many. And organizing, community organizing, political organizing is aimed not to lead the revolution, because none of the organizer or the people doing mobilization, even though organizing and do mobilization is two things really different. Mobilization is just an audience. To some point, organizing it's about to give people power, and power to change stuff, and power to think questions. So I'm really about organization and not mobilization. Mobilization is really hype with neoliberalism. On this day, everyone want to mobilize with your own platform and audience and people, and make you sign a petition, etc. This is mobilization. Long story short, we will know when we had new question, when we have really new questions. It's like a breakthrough, ideological, theoretical question of breakthrough. The same, the same when after the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian father of the state have to think about a Black state, have to write a constitution, say this country, it's a Black country and every citizen are Black. So when you have to think about that you're done with some stuff, in this case, done with slavery. So when you have to ask really new question, really question that blow your mind, how a bunch of Black people just have their own country now in 1804, that was a blowing mind, and put that out there. So one day we'll arrive a point that we'll say stuff really like, yeah, it's the way it is. Still is not easygoing, is not feel natural to ask this question and put the question of this way, is we're not there yet.
Okay, thank you, Ramata. I think we have a question also from Aisatu. Aisatu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So my question was really regarding towards the end of I believe it was your kinfolks interview, you kind of just touched on capitalism, and I was more wondering, like, especially as someone who kind of shares the same suspicions that you were talking about in your intro, when does Black people attaining wealth become more of a form of liberation or a form of subjugation? Like, when does one draw the line with those two? Because I've seen certain cases where Black people attaining wealth can really be at the expense of the Black community. So I was just wondering what thoughts you had on that.
Me, I'm really kind of Black Marxism and Black anti-capitalist. So I think that we really have to define what is capitalism, so people can attain wealth without being capitalists. So if they're not, owner of the mean of production, and in the proletarian, you have different kind of people, the high paid intellectual worker, how you say, some like the dean of your university, for example, the president of your university, and maybe really wealthy, but he's not the owner of the university. So we have to think wealth not about individual wealth, about these Black people attain wealth, so it's jeopardizing the Black liberation project. I don't think so. I think that we living in a world, and we have to think that we are codependent. We using phone. We have to pay rent. We have to get income. We might be paying some people from sometimes some babysitting, etc. So we have to go beyond the moral stuff of wealth, moral question of wealth, but really about the power relationship. Capitalism is a power relationship, and for me, capitalism is a power relationship, and capitalism is it's born from slavery. And I really encourage everyone to read the work of Eric Williams, Slavery and Capitalism. It's really great theory about how slavery was a neo-capitalism in terms of thinking the accumulation of value and the people has of capital, a premier capital. And I think Black people from the Global South are the main capital in the capitalist system, because we are the captation of the value from people from the global South, the low wage worker, the value of the quite enslavement of all the people in prison, in jail, in the US, etc. So I think the wealth is not really linked. It's linked to capitalism, sure, but it's not really linked to the ideology of Black capitalism, because even before capitalism, you had Black wealth, or not Black, because Black doesn't exist in this way, but you had African wealth. So wealth cannot be synonym of capitalism, and I think we have to be careful about that. So even in different kind of society, you have wealth, and the wealth is not just the accumulation of money. You can have other type of symbolic wealth in other type of society. So it's linked with, is it the wealth is linked with your ability to live, to feed yourself, to have a housing, to have access to freedom, to freedom of crossing border, to freedom of space, etc. So I don't think that after the revolution, even the classless society, we will not have wealth. We will not have wealthy people. I think we can have other type of wealth based in other form of capital, not not house, not money, not the fact that you have a yacht, but maybe symbolic capital, but you will have wealth, or maybe spiritual, but you will have wealthy people. So the issue is not really the wealthy, but it's about that wealthy mean your ability to live longer, better, and with more dignity. So what we try to achieve in a Black liberation vision is to mean that nothing, not your wealth, not your gender, when your race, can be a major determinant of the dignity that you treat, the justice that you can have, the equality, and the freedom that you get on your own life and your own place on the society. And I think a really beautiful proverb from Congo say, I don't discharge. I don't know how we say that. The place you put all the garbage, the big space, recycling stuff. Okay, they say that don't have recycling area for human. So means that we have to do so. And I think capitalism meant that they can have human, you can put in some no garbage. So we have to implement this Congo proverb of, no, you can put just human like that in social, economical, spatial garbage that either jail, poverty, low income, cross-border, low wage work now. So we have to think that. So I think it's not the wealth, it's really the project. And I think Black capitalism, it's a project of white supremacy, because it's an illusion, because for white supremacy work, you need to be sure, white people need to be sure they can live in neighborhoods that we are not a lot of Black people. So I think Black capitalism, it's a white supremacy project, white capitalist supremacy project. Like when you say to kid, no, when our parents torture us, no worry, at the end of the month I will buy you stuff. But the end of the month never happened. Never happened. Caribbean proverb, at the end of the month I will buy you stuff. Never. Don't trust.
Thank you Aissatou, for that question that would spark that great response. I wanted to go to a question that Richard had. Richard, are you there? Can you ask your question live?
Can you hear me, guys? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, so let me see if I can restate my question a little bit. So yeah, first of all, thank you, Fania, for your talk. And I really appreciated you talking about the distinction between Black organizing. Oh, I can bring my camera on too, I guess. Oh, no, I can't. That's okay. Well, I'll speak clearly. Between Black organizing in France as being anti-Republican, right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. And it's not something I'd really put together, but it makes so much sense. Like, organizing by nation, having spent time in France and seeing people of all different cultures, like uniting as a culture and organizing in France, that's so common. But this idea of Black organizing being so radical and so contrary to, oh, thanks. Oh, hi. Merci, Edwin. So contrary to the idea of universalism, right? And you also pointed to, the myth of universalism in France. My question was, just so much about like anti-Islamophobia. You know, we've been reading a lot about France in the news lately, and the reaction to, you know, violence that's tied to Islam, right? And, you know, the reactions by the state. I was just reading an article where the Minister of the Interior wants to, like, you know, kick all these folks out of France that are, you know, suspected of being connected to terrorism as being a reaction to these two recent events in Paris. So my question to you is only just like, what have you seen in your experience as far as, you know, solidarity among anti-racist organizers, so like Black organizers in France, and Islamophobic organizers in France? Have you seen any useful work across those lines?
Yeah, so basically anti-Islamophobia in France is anti-Arabic racism. You have a specific anti-Blackness in France, more likely police violence, or the regulation about Black women make too many babies, about they are not good mother, etc. Have a specific anti-Blackness in France, and have a specific anti-Arabic in Spain, and have a global anti-racist against banlieue, mean, both together, whatever, one of those. So anti-Islamophobic is mostly anti-Arabic. And I think it's really rooted in the Algerian war. And I have a lot of book on that. You can read Mathieu Rigouste, if you read French, who wrote L'ennemi intérieur, and how the French state police built Arab Algerian as the state interior opponent. And I think that this story not be really good by France, that how the Algerian war was ended, that the Algerian independence made action in France, in hexagonal, not just in Algerian, was really camouflé, when we said in France, really, was really in really camouflé, and the tie of that. So I think have a history that doesn't want to pass on that. And about the link organization, have a lot of Black Muslim in France, so a lot of Black Muslim individuals are in anti-Islamophobic organization like CCF, but also LALAB, who is a woman in an organization of around women, Muslim women. So you have the president is a Black Senegalese or Mauritianus, I think, but she's Soninke, so maybe from Senegal, Mauritania. So the president is a Black hijabi woman. In CCF, you had a few Black person, and all in anti-Islamophobic, anti-racist organization. You have Senegalese, Comorian, in minority, small amount of Black Muslim people. But we work together. For example, CCF and MWASI did work together. We have a kind of coalition. 2015, we launched a big march. The march for La Marche de la Dignité was in Paris. Was led by a woman of color against police violence and state violence, and who have all the organization from the what we call the post-colonial organizations of Black, Arab, Asian, Roma people organization on that. It was really a huge march and a huge success. Have a event, cross event, have a link, etc. So yes, but it's not. I think it does not have a clear separation, even though anti-Islamophobia in France is really toward all Arabic people, all North African people in France, all of them, no exception, Muslim, not Muslim, all of them, no exception, and also toward Black, visibly Muslim. So it's all Arabic, even though they did not pray, they're not Muslim, etc. All of them, and some Black people, the Black people who are Muslim but visibly Muslim with hijab or with a outfit or with but because have a really specific anti-Blackness, and the anti-Blackness is divide between the anti-Blackness toward African and toward ultramarins, like people from Guadeloupe, Martinique, Guyane, etc. It's a different kind of anti-Blackness. You have the anti-Blackness toward Black African and Haitian, because Haitian are put in the same side than the African because of documentation that we're not born French, and have a different kind of racism against those. So on this sense, we have link and have Black people in those organizations, and how and in the same way have Black Muslim people in our organization that tackle speak on the issue of Islamophobic from Black organization.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for that question, Richard. Can we now go to, I think, Natanya, you had a question you wanted to ask? Natanya, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for this wonderful talk and discussion. I was interested in radical determinism. I was really struck by your discussion of radical determinism, and wondered if you would speak about it as a principle of organizing, as a possible principle of Black feminist thought. How far would you want to extend radical determinism as a kind of galvanizing metaphor or idea? Thank you.
I think it's not just for Black feminism. It's for understanding some the possibility, and it's the idea that I borrowed to a really complex mind, a bit crazy and a bit shy, but Frédéric Lordon. He's an economist and a philosopher, a Marxist, really a great person, but complicated, but great. Frédéric Lordon, and talking about the topic about Bourdieu, because Bourdieu was saying when he was alive that we born determine. Yeah, I have the issue with verb determined, and we have a small chance to die free. Is what Bourdieu said about that, and the idea of Lordon that no, the determination is not the antagonism, is not in antagonism with freedom. Determination is just possibility. It's just that when you're born in a certain family, in a certain gender, in a certain race, you have a lot of possibility, different kind of possibility. But it's all of this possibility you have is not all the possibility possible for a human. So you can live all the human life. You can live it's not possible to live to have access to all the paths possible for human. The fact that even you're born super rich, super white, Superman in the United States, you can have access to all the possibility of life to a human being. You can be a really a Casamance fighter. You can be that. You cannot be that. You cannot be a really great griot in a family in Senegal. You can be that. So you have a lot of possibility. You can visit the world. You can be going to Harvard, but you also can live your life in Italy, live in a mansion, live in a small apartment, do your white savior, go into Tanzania, whatever. You can have more possibilities than someone with a Haitian passport and no link but you can have all the possibility. And the radical determinism says that when you have people that we call statistical breaker, that we are an anomaly statistic, what we say, that because we are from some families that I am the only one in my sibling who am in graduate, who even went to university, say that my path is not an anti-determinism. That says that, oh yeah, you break the determinism because you not end up like you swimming, not doing graduate school, etc. I say no, it's because of determinism that I become an activist, and it's become the activism and the fact that I grew up in this kind of family that I want to go through, and it's because I have been an activist and I've been a Haitian and I travel a lot and I like travel, that after 5 years at 33, I say, oh, why not take a break and go to PhD? And I get in PhD because of that. So it's really determinism. It's just in all the possibility I had, it's like a statistical, have one chance of 20 to become this version and more chance to become another version. But I had that chance exist. If I was a totally other person, it would never happen. And I think it's that radical determination is about possibility. It's about the fact that we have to find in each situation what is the smallest change that makes that possibility exist, that the freedom possibility that this path can lead to a revolution, a system change, because it's determined by all the action we take every day, the organizing, the text, the fighting, the strike in the United States, the strike in Bolivia, in South America, etc. It's all this that can determine what will happen today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow. And we don't need to think about, we have to go in reverse of history. No, we're making history. So we just have to make sure that the possibility of history that we try to push get in that direction. And I think it's more empowering that says that we working not against the flow, but we working to just shift the flow. And I think that's not everything what happened in France actually with neoliberalism in United States, everything. When we think about that, you know that some author, some academic like Marx wrote that 1 century before, that capitalism had the seed inside of itself of its own destruction. So now we're living not the end of the time, but we're living the times of the end. So we have to make sure that it will not be a negative apocalypse, but it will be more a positive apocalypse. This is my Caribbean Jesus Christ mood. So that's the end of something to not the eternal life, but something better, etc.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalia, for that question. I guess I want to ask one last question. I'll take the last question, and it has to do with the section of your book that is about Black love. And we're reading in the class I'm teaching right now a novel by Wilfrid Nsonde that it's his first novel, and he describes it really as a love story, but we feel that there's all kinds of other things going on within this love story and its tragedy. Can you talk a little bit about Black love and how the question of Black love ends up in your revolutionary manifesto?
Yeah, I think it was really larger of that. It was for first the political question about that. In France, for example, have a strong mixed race agenda about very strong, but very throughout Black people, not other kind of community, and has something that will end racism, something like that. And I think that the question is the same that in United States, is that as a sociologist, we can say that if something happened, if we all human, I think that as an anti-racist, I think we are all human, and in all human group, you have really great people and you have really bad people and you have really mediocre people and with that interest. And this group, in all group of Black people, we have half of them are men, and in all men, all men in any race, you have majority of not really high quality. It's not like men is a high quality demographic in heterosexual relationship. That's it. Not that the best quality of human in straight relationship. That is scam. So when we have that, so we just inheritance of one part of this very not that great demographic in the Black community. The other community takes, everyone gets their burden, but we had a community where we have the most interracial relationship, and in this sense is going throughout Black men with other people, and also Black women. But we have the one like in the US, like in the UK, with a significant variable when we say in sociology. So if we say that we all grew up in the same with the same message from mix about multiculturalism, why you have a group that have a significant variable compared to other groups with the same economical background, Arab, North African, of Asian, where we have the one. And I think the part of the answer, because we see in France, for example, a community with a really strong cultural, Senegalese, Congolese, Comorian, Haitian, are not really, they really stick together. Soninke or Soninke, stick with Soninke, Bambaratu, and is the one with really less cultural link. So we see we see that, and we compare to other. And the question in my book is really about what it say about ourselves. Do we have a issue? Do we have a translation issue to about that? And I asked the question not from Black men, because I'm not in this demographic, and I think everyone have to get his shit together, and I'm not do free labor for other demographic, not this one. So I asked the question from Black woman demographic and say that we have a question, a really pertinent question, that in France, we see that mostly of Black women in intellectual, cultural, intellectual worker, media, etc. So people with my profile, for example, that PhDs, blah, 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 like that, are more likely, or activists are more likely to end up with a white guy. Really more likely, even a white person, even the queer one. So if it was with just a problem of gender, the queer Black woman would end up with another Black woman, because I have a really great Black woman. But I think have a question of racial and racial integration, even for Black women. And then we see the difference between, we see that Black women in other demographic, more low income, of medium work, we're more likely end up with the partner in the same cultural background. So Senegalese will end up with Senegalese, etc. And something really rare, for example, come Absatoussi, she's a Mauritanian Senegalese. It's really rare for the woman of our community go outside of the community. She get married with an Italian. That really is that's not common. That's not common, and we see that a lot. So I asked this question from my demographic about what is said about us, and about the link, and about the lack, the link, the issue that we have with the feet, with the feet, and it's an open question, and it's really not polemic, I think, but with honest question, because I said that more I'm a Black feminist with higher degree. I have a husband, but he's Black, and I know that people really get confused when they get know that I'm married with a Haitian guy. So it's like have some kind of antagonist between the fact that maybe I think have a subconscious thought about that. You can find all men are trash, but in some demographic, the white demographic, you have some goldy trash. So it was better to find goldy, goldy trash, yeah, feminist ally in the white men, straight white men demographic than in the Black men demographic. So I think it's that. So to find exceptional case you can find more in those demographic, and also because it's a class question in where you're up in the social scale, etc. You make all your life is about your work, your new community, artistic, intellectual community, and everything is done to just be separate from other kind of community. And when I talk to other Black women that get that, they say they didn't know how it happened, but they just woke up a day and all their friends were their new journalist friend or all the artistic friends. So they just hang out with the same people, all the other people that didn't make it or didn't want to go in this kind of space, they just split apart. And I think it's linked what I said before is because don't have a lot of Black organization. Because if had a Black artist organization, a Black journalist organization, or whatever, you can find other places and not just you work to chill out. And within the difference between my generation and the youngest generation, because the youngest generation are really more likely to date each other because they have more space they have the cultural space, the church mosque place, but they also have the music related space. They have the virtual space with Twitter. They have the staff stuff, etc. And I think the fact that we talk more and more of anti-Blackness, it makes that they find each other chosen community of people to talk about that more openly. That when I start university of my professional life, if I was not always around going in United States or in Haiti, yeah, more likely I would not having a lot of Black friends. Yeah, but it's because I was in a political organization, a Black political organization, and because I do that. But if I was not make conscious step of that, I will in living in Paris, working in that progressive each, liberal each slash we are not racist each. We not.
Well, I think we're out of time for today, but I want to thank you so much for visiting with us. It was really a pleasure to hear from you, and I hope you'll visit us again soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And you can, if you have any question, the people that I didn't see on the on the call, you can just send me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is Fania_Noël on Instagram, and I answer a question and story. I spend too much time, but don't say that to my faculty advisor on that.
Thank you so much. That's very kind and generous. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.